Well, hello folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you, and let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up that screen. Oh, Aitx. Their sales are exploding. A to the I to the T to the freaking X. I'm happy for them, and it's going well, and let's take a look at these sales. All right, this came out today. It says Aitx RAD to deploy 13 units to a Fortune 50 transportation company. It says they've entered into an agreement with this company to deploy 12 Rosas and 1 Romeo at 2 of the client's facilities. The client is not being identified due to an NDA. 6 of the Rosas will be at each of the 2 locations, and the single Romeo will be on patrol at the client's largest logistics center. The client has experienced an increase in trespassing at many of their locations. The fleet of Rosa units and the mobile Romeo are to provide a deterrence, and it will provide a deterrence. It's known for that. And guess what? It'll save them 90%. It says, this is precisely how we expect to be running sales through our pipeline, said Mark Fulmer, president of RAD. The household name client has been on our radar for years. They got hands-on with Romeo and Rosa at the ISC West Trade, which I covered that if you'll remember. Since then, we've had meetings with them at the Rex, and now they're giving us a large initial order, 13 units, and they've had a record-shattering intake of 85 units of order during the month of June. So they're killing it in June. Steve Reinhart said, we keep grinding away and signing up Fortune 500 clients. Our client list is becoming a who's who of companies that are leaders in their industry. The scale at which clients like this operate is so impressive, meaning they could sell a hell of a lot more to them. It says we're starting with 13 units, including a Romeo at 2 of their several hundred distribution centers. When this rolls out globally, it will have the potential to be massive. It says RAD is uniquely suited to support clients like these. They each have large shipping and service yards, a fenced periphery that's a challenge to patrol and can no longer find or afford the manpower. That's important. Afford the manpower to effectively secure their properties. Next week, we expect to identify our largest client in this category. Look, this is great news. This kind of reminds me when you get the new phone book. Yeah, this is exciting news for Aitx. As I've told you, and I've covered Aitx now for a long time, and I've owned it several times. I currently don't. I've been looking for a couple things to happen for me to buy back in, and it would be 2 things. I need to see the revenue kick up, which they're doing a great job with that. I think not this first quarter, but I think second quarter, because remember, it's March, April, and May is their first quarter because it ends February 28th is their end of year. But June, July, and August is second quarter for them. So we're not going to see that in the first quarter, so don't get all ticked off when the first quarter isn't like super strong after seeing all these sales. It's not going to show up for quite a while. It'll be months before we see this big June month. Or July if it winds up being big. And it looks like, man, they got the momentum. They got the mojo. And I do know something about retail sales and sales in general, and there is such a thing as sales momentum, without question, especially in a new sector like this. So this is all good. But the company's got some things that, as you know, keep me from investing in them. And hopefully they'll be dealing with that. Number one, they're taking care of the revenue, which is, look, that's the most important thing long term. It just flat out is. If you don't sell your products, it doesn't freaking matter what you do with the balance sheet. But the second thing is the balance sheet. And we're going to take a look at that and why I've got an issue with it. And as you can see, they've got about $4 million in cash, $4.6 million as of February 28th. I know that's changed, and they have sold some shares, but they've also, had to pay people. And when you look at their profit and loss, you can see they're losing money. So that's an issue, and they're burning cash. That's really the issue that I have with them. And I would be fine if they had plenty of money on their balance sheet. I would invest today if they had plenty of money on their balance sheet, given the sales momentum that they've got going. I would just do that, even in this market. But until that's dealt with, we're going to continue to see this dilution. And that needs to be dealt with one way or the other. And it can be, but I need to see that, and then I'll be willing to invest. Because as you can see, they're up against their authorized shares number of 5 billion. They're at 4.945. And that's just not enough room between it. Plus, it's, there's a continual drip, drip, drip of dilution, and I'm not comfortable with that. I want to see this company with like 20 million bucks on the balance sheet, a minimum of 10. I could get comfortable barely with 10, but I'd like to see 20, and ideally I'd like to see 40. That would be perfect. Then I could really be comfortable because they need that cash to go through this hyper growth phase they're in. They've got to pay for research and development. They just built up their team to 80 employees. They've got these huge orders that they've got to fill. And, they're in that very tricky time in business where everything's rolling or starting to roll, and they need the cash to continue that roll. And even after this excellent news today, like I say, the stock's down a little bit, about 4%. It was a poor market for the pennies today. And like I say, this one's down, and part of that might be some dilution. They may have had to sell some shares there. That company that they sell to where they get 90 cents on the dollar, they may have sold some shares, or maybe just people are getting out of penny stocks. I mean, really, the market's in a very fearful mindset. And here's the main reason why. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, that's a very important index. And people at Wall Street look at this thing hardcore, and this is at the lowest level it's ever been. People are pissed off, worried, and concerned. And that's a bad combination for at-risk stocks and interest rates going up, because the future value of money is reducing at a pretty good clip, and companies are going to make money in the future. Those future earnings are worth less. And here you can see the small caps are at almost the lowest they've ever been since 1999. As you can see, it's the low of where we were during the Rona, the peak of the fear. So small caps, which really are a good representation of micro caps, are in the crapper. And Aitx, being a penny stock, it's having to deal with that. So are all the penny stocks. So while a year and a half ago being a penny stock was the best place to be, now it's the worst place to be. It's just kind of the way it is. So I'm being very, very picky when I buy a penny stock. It needs to be really in rock solid position for me. Look, I'm trading like a spoiled rotten little brat is what I'm doing. If it's not exactly the way I want it, I'm not doing it. It's just the way it is. This company, though, has a lot of juice. It really does. Their sales and the sector they're in and the products that they have, it's exciting. It really is. But like I say, I'm going to trade like a little spoiled rotten little brat. And as you folks know, George Sharp's been hammering them over dilution, and he's been doing it sort of in a nasty way. He does it in the George Sharp way. Look, he's not going to pull any punches, and he's not going to be nice about it. But it's kind of hard not to recognize those sales that they're doing. And actually, this is his response to hearing about these 85 units that were sold over the last few weeks.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it. But like I say, he's the double-edged sword. When he brings up stuff, a lot of times things happen. So I try not to get too upset with him because, like I said, Aitx has been one of his favorite punching bags and has been for a while. Steve, I'll give him credit. He has stayed kind of above it and really hadn't got down into the fisticuffs with him, which is not easy to do. But, he's tried to stay above. I'll give him credit for that. It's not easy. It'd be real easy to get on down there and rough it up. But he's chosen the other direction, and he's just focused on making sales. And look, proof's in the pudding. He's making sales. That's all there is to it. And I've really only got one thing to say about hearing all these great sales, and today especially.
All right.
All right, folks, that was 3 things. I admit that, but this is great news. I'm very excited for Aitx, and I root hard for this company. And like I said, at some point, he's going to deal with these authorized shares and get this squared away and get that balance sheet where I can be comfortable with it, and then I'll buy. But until that time, like I said, I'm just going to be a brat. But if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover Aitx. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Mr. Frugal Investor.